Okay, so here we have some mystery metal that we found inside the brand new rebuild of our 2002 Ford Focus double overhead cam 2-liter Z-Tech engine. We had great oil pressure, and we were driving it, and all of a sudden we lost our oil pressure, and so we shut the engine off, towed it home, dropped the oil pan, and we found all these pieces of metal inside the pickup, the oil pickup, and we cannot identify what it's from. We've actually got another 2-liter engine that reason why we replaced it. We tore it completely apart, and we cannot find a similar piece of metal in that engine that could have possibly caused something similar to this. We tore the crank out, all the connecting rods, the bearings, the cams, the head, the upper and lower case, the oil pan. Nothing has metal in it like this. So it's dark, it's magnetic, it's sharp, it's bendy, and like I said, we can't figure out what it is. Now here is a bearing from the motor that we tore apart that was bad, that didn't have this metal in it. And this is one of the worst bearings there, and you can see how thick it is and how color it is. And to me, these are not the same. Plus, the new engine doesn't have a knock. We got it shut off before it caused any damage. And when we started up the next day, we were able to pull it in the garage with 60 psi oil pressure. So this stuff had fallen out of the pickup and then got sucked back in when we pulled it in the garage. So what I've got here, this is the perlator filter. This is what was on the car. Supposed to be a pretty good filter. So we tore it apart and we looked at all the pieces of the filter, and we've got all these parts, all of them intact, yet we did find a few pieces of this metal inside the filter, which is interesting. It just means it circulated through the motor, or did it come out of the filter? Well, here's some here. What I've done is I've bought a Fram filter, because we had a Fram on the motor that blew up. So here's the Fram. We're going to cut that open. And then I bought him a guard, a micro guard, which is Murray's brand. And I'm going to have to get another perlator when the store's open and see if it has any metal in it that looks like this. But since I don't know what filter this engine had on it when we got it from the junkyard, all I know is the one I put on there, which is this one. We're going to cut apart some of the more common ones and see if we can find a similar piece. So let me pause this and get to cutting. Here's the Fram. Brand new out of the box. So here, Bob, you hold this. And I got a real nice cutter here. Cut it right in half and see if we find any pieces inside that look similar to what we're trying to identify. I don't want to be on the film. So, here's the Fram's flange, pretty heavy duty. Seems okay. Here's that, what they call that, the spillback gasket. That's a piece of shit. Here's the filter. It's all cardboard. It's got one-way valve. That's some pretty thin metal. Maybe. These are the parts I'm worried about here. This is the kind of stuff, it could be the same material, but I don't know, it's hard to tell. The filter itself. So that's what a Fram looks like on the inside. I don't see anything that resembles this. Let's see, throw it back together. I'll weld it back together and sell it to somebody else. Hit it. And then here's a micro guard. This is the O'Reilly brand. Cut this one open. And tomorrow we'll get the perlator and cut that open and see if we're missing something. Because it's definitely something in that motor, and I don't know how it could have got in there, because we had it, the head off, we had the oil pan off, we've had this engine completely apart. There weren't any pieces of metal inside of it. Man, we've only driven it for a week. Thank God the motor didn't get screwed up. Let's see if I can cut that a little more. So here's the flange to the micro guard, normal looking. Here's their flowback valve, a little bit nicer. Their whole filter is made out of metal. It's got the check valve on the inside, but it's part of the cap. Now here's what I find interesting is this piece of metal. I don't know how that could have got in the motor, but the perlator didn't have that. The perlator was a solid glued filter. The Fram also doesn't have it, which they used to always have. Here's a glued seam here. And then this one's got a spring in it. So I don't see anything in these two filters that look like what we're looking for. So we'll have to look tomorrow at the perlator and see if we can find something in there. Otherwise, if anyone who sees this video can identify what these pieces of metal are. So they're cleaned off and they're black, like almost tempered. This one kind of looks like it's got a bolt hole or something in it. I don't know. And the rest of them are just crumpled up. Obviously they were turned around inside the motor quite a bit. So that's all I got for now. Thanks. So here's another view of that piece of metal. It's on a piece of paper for you to see. It's in Bobby's hand for scale. It's not very big. Here's some more hunks that we found in the oil pan. They were all magnetic. We fished these out of the oil with a magnet. Here's the part of the oil pump. This is one of the impellers, and then here's the outer impeller. Neither one of them have metal on them that looks like that. This is all from the scrap motor that we replaced. Trying to find something in here that looks like that piece of metal, and we can't. All the pieces fitting together. Looks good, a little scratched up. This one did have a catastrophic failure. The bearings are totally shot, but the oil pump itself, although a bit scratched, does not have any pieces of metal on it that match that hunk we found in the oil pan. Here's the head, and there's nothing like that on the head. Here's the lower half of the engine block. That's what you see when you look up from the bottom when you take the oil pan off. And here's the cylinder block itself. Nothing like that. It's all thick, heavy cast metal. Here's one of the pistons. Nothing thin and shiny on this. And here's the oil pan with the pickup in it after I've cleaned it all up. And there's nothing there. I don't get it.